I decided to ask myself the hard questions and then be like, what are the hard answers here? It's just deciding whether or not you're going to accept that. And so I just accepted that, like, there's a lot of things that I need to work on. And then if I don't work on these things, my life is going to look a lot different than what I want it to look like. So I can either deflect it or, all right, cool, this is going to be hard, but like, I'd rather do this now. You got to go through it, right? It's not just like going to happen for you.
Welcome to the Friends with Benefits podcast, a business podcast about revenue-generating partnerships, not a podcast about business time with friends. We're your co-hosting couple. I'm Jason.
And I'm Sam. Welcome to the show, friends.
All right, we are back. We are podcasting. We've got our second episode of season 3 here, and we've got a really great guest.
Woo.
And it's a fun one because it's a repeat guest and a special guest from the summer. Who we got here?
Well, we have the one, the only Morgan J Ingram. But we have him back to talk about something that probably will take you by surprise. We talked about this a little bit in the episode, but this conversation came to be a few months back when Morgan and I were just having a catch up, and he told me about a retreat that he went on and kind of all the things he learned throughout that experience. And from that, I asked him to come speak at the Arcadia Leadership Experience, which was this summer.
Which he did a fantastic job at.
So we asked him to come, in his words, run it back on the pod. So I hope you enjoy this one today. Reach out to Morgan, let him know if you did. So without further ado,
here we go. Well. Welcome back, friends, to season 3 of Friends with Benefits. And it feels so good to dust the microphone off a little bit, kind of put the podcast outfit on, black shirt. Today it's olive pants. Have my beautiful co-host, roommate, co-worker, wife here with me. Welcome back to the show, babe.
I'm so excited. I've missed this.
Yeah, feels like old times. We've got speaking of old times, we've got a return guest this week.
I know. We're kicking off season 3 with a repeat.
Yeah. We actually got to hang out with this guest, who you all know already because he's on the cover art, but hung out with him in Montana this summer and had a heck of a great time. So,
as you know, we have the Morgan J. Ingram here today.
Morgan J.
Back for more. And if you listen to the last episode we did with Morgan, this one's going to be very different.
Very different. I like the Morgan J. Back for more. Could that just be the title?
That maybe.
I just got a punch to it. What's up, Morgan?
What's happening, y'all? Excited to be here.
So, Morgan, I would say, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but most people probably know you for sales leadership and your sales expertise on LinkedIn. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
Okay. However, a few months ago, I don't remember exactly when, but you and I had just like a casual catch up, and our conversation took a very different direction. And like on the spot, without even consulting my co-host, I was like, you have to come to Arcadia Leadership Experience and share this story with the people. So you did. And your talk actually resonated with so many people. Not surprising to me, but we wanted to have you back because I think that many more people could benefit from hearing kind of that story and what we talked about. So let's just start at the beginning. You and I talked about a lot deeper dimensions than work and life. But can you just tell us about that season in your life and how you came to discover what you affectionately referred to as the circle or the healing circle?
Yeah. So taking it all the way back, most people know this, and I'm not going to go over the whole thing. You can go listen to a background podcast on my background. Like, we don't need to go over the whole thing. But in 2016, I started off as an SDR. And when I was an SDR, I started creating content on LinkedIn and YouTube at the same time. Most people were not doing that at the time. So it was really just me and maybe like 2 people creating content around sales development, outbound, and sales. As I got more into it, I've identified with my coach on this as well. So this is something we've worked through, is I had what is called a legacy being of proving everyone wrong, which that fuel and vehicle can get you to a certain place, but it won't get you to where you actually want to go. So from like 2016 to like 2021, my whole goal was I have to prove everyone wrong. People say that I can't do this, so I'm just going to prove them all wrong, which again helps you get results. But there's a lot of anger that actually comes with that. And also, you're not really doing it out of love or things of that nature. So fast forward 5 years, at the end of 2021, I had a book that I wrote all my goals in 2016, and I probably hit about 90% of those goals. And they were all like professional and material based. They weren't based on anything like really personal per se or relationship based. It was just like, here are the accolades I want to hit. I'm going for this. And at the end of 2021, as I hit those goals, I remember having the most empty feeling ever, as in like it was like a chasm. It was like a black hole. It's like I did all these things and there was no celebration, there was no parade. No one came and gave me a high five. Like I don't know, I just expected more. I don't know why. It's like, you know, when you text people, if you have an iPhone, if you have an Android, like I can't help you, but if you have an iPhone, say like congrats, and then like the balloons come up.
Balloons and confetti.
Yeah, like, I expected that, and like I didn't get any of that at all. So I was like, did I do this wrong? Like, why do I feel so empty about this? And so that's when I decided to take a deeper journey on what my faith with Jesus Christ and God looked like. I took a deeper look on like, how do my relationships look? And I remember at the beginning of 22, like being like, how can I go about this differently? And then how Sam and I connected on this level at the beginning of 2025 is in 2024, I went on a men's retreat in December. And that's what elevated my whole entire thinking to the next level by doing a healing circle. And to give people context, the healing circle is comprised of 6 different categories, and they're based out of 10 points. So it's 60 points in total. So those 6 categories are your health, like fitness, money, spiritual or energy, however you want to calculate that, career, mindset, which is like your energy, and I don't know why I always blank on the last one.
Relationships.
Yeah, relationships. That's it. Relationships. And so I did that, and I found out that yeah, career was a good number, right? Finances were a good number, but what really hit me at my core was my relationships was at like a 5, and my spiritual was at like a 5. Health was like at like a 5 or 4 or 6, something like that. And so I realized I needed to like take things in more consideration. And so I've continuously been working on that. Those ones are higher now, so it's been good. But that was my whole journey. Is that like instead of focusing on half of the picture in professional, we have to focus on the holistic picture. Because at the end of the day, I don't think any of us are going to be like, man, I can't believe I got up 200,000 LinkedIn followers. Like, look at me. Like, I just don't think that's the conversation we're going to have at the end of the day. So that's the whole story.
One of the things that I think most about that is like, and you know, I've got a coach now and I'm working with him, and like the level of like honesty you've got to really get to answer those questions. Because like, yeah, on paper, like you achieved all the goals. So I think most people would kind of just go through those numbers or those each of those pieces of the framework and be like, yeah, I'm killing it, I'm doing great. But like you said, you felt empty after hitting them. Like, what do you think led you to that point to get honest, open, and vulnerable enough to answer those questions of honestly with a 4 or 5 or a 6 instead of going like, yeah, 8, killing it, 9, 10, I'm here. How do you think you came to that point?
I can't reference the video because I don't remember who said it. It was just an interview I'd watched. It was like towards the end of 2022. And it was around most people will not grow or refuse to grow in life because they're not willing to ask themselves the hard questions and give themselves hard answers back. So that was it. I can ask hard questions, but then I can just like make it up and be like, well, it's so and so's fault. Or it's like, well, I don't have the right territory. Or it's like, no, well, that's just not me, or that's never going to happen to me. So like you can easily deflect. I decided to ask myself the hard questions and then be like, what are the hard answers here? And if you look yourself in the mirror or really analyze it, we all know what the real answers are. It's just deciding whether or not you're going to accept that. And so I just accepted that like there's a lot of things that I need to work on. And then if I don't work on these things, my life is going to look a lot different than what I want it to look like. So I can either deflect it and have a way worse outcome in the future, knowing that it could have changed, or all right, cool, this is going to be hard, but like I'd rather do this now so that I can evolve and go through that period of metamorphosis, right? Like going from a caterpillar to butterfly, like you got to go through it, right? It's not just like going to happen for you. So like that's another way I look at it as well.
I think that's great. It makes me think about I'm reading Jocko's book right now, Extreme Ownership,
Yeah.
and like this is I don't know if he gets that point in the book yet or not, but like looking at it from that perspective of really taking like extreme ownership of where you're at in your life and like asking those hard questions, really answering them with that level of ownership and saying like, yeah, this is where I'm at, and really owning your crap and kind of being at that place. Like I think you're right. That's very hard for a lot of people to do, especially high performers.
100%. As a high performer, you're good at something and you're high performing. It's hard to reflect on something that you are not good at to improve, because you're like, oh, I did all this work to be a high achiever at this thing. Now I have to go and do more work. Like, why would I do that? And I think that's a lot of reasons why people that are high achievers will neglect other areas in their life. This is a quote that I actually don't like. I'm going to say a quote that I don't like, and this might cause a lot of people to be upset, but like I actually do not like this quote. Is people will be like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I think that's a quote. I think I heard that before. I actually don't like that quote, because there are people that are really good at sales, yet they are not disciplined in their eating and fitness. So I don't like that correlation, because I actually don't think that is true for everybody. People are really high performers and disciplined in one area, but then they are not disciplined in the other area. It's just different. And I think that's because a lot of people are like, well, I'm high achieving in this area, I can do my thing, and everything else I go by the wayside. Where versus instead of thinking that it has to be perfection, it's just like, I'm really just on the route of, I need to evolve and have evolution in the areas that I have. And I'm going to continuously get better. I may not get to the level of high achieving in one area than the other one, but I at least will progress and grow so that I can be more holistic. And I think that's just the way to look at it. It's like, it's not about like how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's like, no, it's just like, how can I be holistic in the evolution of growth in all these areas so I can be the person I need to be?
Absolutely.
And I think that's, I'm so in love with this conversation, because Arcadia literally means harmony, and that means, your whole person. Morgan J. Ingram as an entire human, not as a career individual, not as a brother or a boyfriend or a pickleball player, like the whole picture,
Easy now.
Across the line with a pickleball comment. I'm sorry. But just to reiterate so people can hear them. So the 6 categories were health, finance, relationships, career, spirituality and energy, and mindset.
Correct.
Okay, so you go through them and you rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, and then you kind of have an overall picture of, holistically, this is how I'm showing up to my life. And based on that picture, these are areas where I can improve. Or my question to you on this is, that can be really overwhelming for people.
Yes, 100%.
So how did you okay, you did this exercise and now what? Like, did you just look at all of the areas where you felt like you were falling short and you went all in? Did you choose one?
Yeah.
Talk to us about what happened.
Yeah, let me add to this. I would say, don't do this exercise by yourself. So when I did this exercise, I was at a men's retreat. So there was 8 other men in the room, and we all went through our numbers. You had to be like, I'm a 4 out of 10.
So there was some accountability.
Yeah, you had to explain why you were there.
I like that.
But the thing that makes it less tough, because if it's just the biggest problem in life is going through the healing circle, asking questions yourself sometimes. And if you're not prepared for it, the voices might get too loud and you might defeat yourself and you might go lower. And that's something you have to be aware and understand about yourself, if like that could happen to you. So if that is the case, okay, go do it with other people. And now I can have a conversation and realize, oh, you're a 4 out of 10 in that? Okay, it's not that I'm not wishing that you're lower than me. I'm just saying, oh, we can relate. I put a 5 and you had a 5. Okay, I'm not alone. Because if you're alone when you do it, you feel like you are the only person at this level. I found it beneficial that we did it with a group of men. If it was women, probably should do a group of women. I think that just makes it easier. But in doing it with a group of men, it made it a lot easier to be like, oh, okay, like other people do struggle with this. And there are other people who are on the same lane as me and going through it. But the cool thing is I'm high in other areas where I can help somebody elevate, but someone was like an 8. in relationships. So it's like, okay, what are you doing? Right. And so I think that's the thing. It allows you to like level set to be like, okay, I'm not a complete degenerate or I'm not a loser. But also it's like there are other people that I can help because you're probably doing something at least well, but then there are other people that can help you as well. So my recommendation on this was to have a group of people do it with you. So that way you can truly assess and understand what is going on. And then also as well, for me, once I saw that, we had a worksheet to basically be like, what are the habits and actions you're going to take after this? So I remember being like, cool, I'm going to go, I think I was like 19% body fat, I think at the time or something like that.
Okay.
So I remember like texting I remember going to Lifetime when I came back in Arizona and talking to one of the trainers and being like, I need help. And I'm happy to report that I was so fired up this week. I'm happy to report I'm at 14.5 body fat right now.
Balloons and confetti.
That's blues and confetti. I was like, I'm throwing a party. I was fired up because I
For those of you that are just listening to the podcast, Morgan's like just stand up flexing his abs right now. We wouldn't have a video of it, but I had to blur that out.
I was fired up. But the thing is, like, it's just stuff like that. It's like once we identify that there's an obstacle, it's like, all right, that's a problem, but how do I go fix that? And then now the right people and now the right scenarios can come into your life. And so that was the thing. I acknowledged it, and then I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna go solve it now.
How difficult do you think it was to like go take those actions, like go start? Like I think I put up a post on LinkedIn the other day about like just the act of starting. Most people kind of wait for the motivation. Most people wait for like the timing to feel right instead of just going and starting and taking action. Like this is a big one. Like I'm sure you could have, kind of sat back, thought about it, let it sit for a while before you kind of took action. But like you went back and apparently, obviously you took some action. Like how hard was it for you to get started?
Getting started, I would say this is something I've learned about myself. Getting started actually has become not as hard for me because I've done things in the past that were more difficult. Like, for example, posting on LinkedIn for the first time was more difficult than me going and being like, I got to go work out. Because I've done that before. I've worked out before. Right. So I think in this scenario, though, like I find that getting started alone and not knowing, I think is a lot harder. So now I know if I want to get started on something, I just go to the source. So it's just easier. All right, cool. I want to lose body fat. Let me just go talk to someone who's already done this. So it's a lot easier for me to start because I have somebody there with me. Or like
you have a guide.
Yeah, it was just like I wanted to get deeper in my faith. So I was like, all right, well, I could go look this up, or I'm just gonna call my dad. Like I was like, hey, dad, what do I do? And so that's what it was. So getting started, I think a lot of people think it's like I have to go alone and I have to go on this hike and I got to go in the woods and break this down. Like, you don't need to do all that. Like, there's somebody in your life you could call and be like, all right, yeah, like, I see that you do really well at work class. I see that you have a good relationship. I see that you have a good faith life, or I see that you do good with your finances. What are you doing? I think getting started is easier if you call someone that you know that is already probably doing well at that or well ahead of you. But that also requires you to remove your ego to make that call and go to that person. So I think what it comes down to is most people, and I face this as well, most people are afraid to start or do something because of their ego. To be like, oh, well, I don't want to talk to this person. They don't need to figure out. I'm like,
they don't need to know I'm a mess. They don't need to know I don't know the answers.
Again, especially high performers.
Everyone is, though. And that's what you realize. Again, when you do the healing circle with other people, you realize everyone is a mess. So then you're like, it doesn't really matter what you feel at the end of the day. Like there's something that is going on with every single person at every single moment. And so once I identified that, it just made it easier for me just to call or text somebody to be like, okay, I'm really struggling with this thing. I don't really know what's going on, but I know you've gone through it. What do I do? And that just makes your life a lot easier because no one at the end of the day is going to be like, when you're in your deathbed, it's like, remember that time you hit me up and you didn't know how to do. They're not going to do that. They're going to be like, I'm glad that you called me and you figured that out.
The irony of that is that comes full circle and helps with your relationship pillar. So I think it's really interesting that we're talking about personal development, but the theme you keep coming back to is it is not done on your own. Like having a community and people around you that can guide and support is crucial for that. So let's talk about You started off this conversation with you had all these business goals and you hit most of them. And by outwardly looking in, you were completely successful. And now you just talked about how you've transformed from working out and you feel much better and you feel really accomplished by that goal. What do you think the difference was in hitting those two goals? And why do you feel more accomplished in one and not the other?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah. I don't think it's because both require discipline and both require due diligence. I think when it comes to health, and this is where I'm going. This is a really good question. I really got me thinking like, dang, why do I feel that way? I think it's because there is more self-love in getting yourself healthy than accomplishing a business goal.
Let me ask a further follow-up question because I think that that's spot on. Do you think that you feel more fulfilled holistically because you've been paying attention to more than one area of your life?
100%. In order to decrease the body fat, I stopped drinking in June because I realized it was like I was going down, but then I was at this like point where like nothing was happening, and I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, you gotta like stop drinking." I was like, "What?" Like I can't go crazy. Like, what do you mean? So he's like, "No." That was hard. Like the first month, I was like, "This is not fun." But at this point, like I don't even know if I would even go back. Like that's how I feel about it now because I'm like I just feel better. I have more clarity, and I'm also not. This is also where things can get weird because I think people get weird sometimes when they go sober. They're like, "I am greater than you because I'm sober." Like that's not what I'm saying. Because like, yo, I've been out here. So it's like, I'd be clear. Like I've drank before. I went to University of Georgia. I get it. But what I'm saying is that like I personally feel more clear. I feel lighter. I feel more at peace. So I'm always gonna pick that. And also as well to go into that, Sam, there's two things that were happening here. And my coach and I have talked about it a lot, and he's giving me so much clarity on this because like I didn't really understand how I was operating, and now I understand. 2016 to 2021 was me being angry. Even though if you met me, you wouldn't see that I was angry. Internally, I was just filled with anger because I was trying to prove everyone
Trying to prove
wrong.
everybody wrong.
Everyone's saying that, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I always have to create an enemy. I had to create an enemy of someone being like, okay, I got to prove you wrong. I got to prove you wrong. And then it gets to a point where you proved everyone wrong. So now it gets worse. So the people that are supporting you, you think that you have to prove them wrong. It gets really crazy because then you're like, oh, well, I got to prove you wrong. It's like, this person's trying to help you. So like,
and you were doing none of this for you and everything else in spite. So it wasn't like the motives changed completely.
This has nothing to do with me. So that's why I felt that way. And again, I didn't understand that until literally this year we had to unpack that. I was like, whoa, there's no way I would have understood that. Now it's like everything I do, and I just finished this book, and my coach, we talk about like, what would love do? Okay, well, love, if you would take care of their body, love would, okay, lean into this friendship, relationship, your mom, dad, etc. You would lean into that. You would call your friend for a 30-minute catch up, even though you have other things to do, right? That's what love would do. But proving people wrong, yeah, you'd be like, I don't have time for this. I got to prove people wrong. I got a mission. I don't have time to chop it up with you. Your energy changes. And so I think these things I feel more accomplished by because it's coming from a completely different being of like, no, this is just out of pure love of self-love, but also love for others as well, versus the other energy was like, yeah, I'm angry, I'm upset, no one understands what I have to go through, so I'm just going to prove them all wrong and I'm just going to do what I got to do. It's completely different energies.
I think so much of it just comes back to like self-love and self-worth, and I think we've mentioned that a ton on this podcast.
Yeah.
One of the things that it made me think of is, I don't know, have you ever heard of, I had to pull it up, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes, yeah.
And so like one of those top things that he talks about is self-actualization, where it basically sits at the top of those needs. And that what self-actualizing means is to like grow continuously, to live authentically, use your unique gifts, and seek meaning and purpose. And like that, to self-actualize, the process of becoming the fullest, truest version of yourself. And I think when you live in alignment with your highest potential, your values and capabilities, like you start to see and feel things and experience things differently.
100%.
Versus like when you're trying to like you prove somebody wrong, like you're not proving anything to yourself, you're trying to prove something to everybody else. When you self-actualize and live according to your capabilities, like you're the only person you're proving something to is yourself. And how do I get better? It's me versus me now. And that's a completely different game when you start playing that game.
Completely different game. And also I realized for myself and other people, we could watch the same movie and have a completely different perspective at what happened in that movie. So even now, if I went to go watch movies that I may have watched years ago, I might see something completely different based on who I am today. That's just also life and perspective as well. Like we could have we can go through the same exact scenario, situation, but based on where I'm at, I'm going to look at it differently based on my acquisition and based on my perspective. Exactly what you're saying, Jason.
So let's talk about kind of recently, it comes up a lot, and I'm obsessed with the concept of ripples. So you go through this, and this is, by the way, not a set destination. This is an ongoing conversation with yourself, I'm sure. Actually, let me ask that first. How often are you revisiting this?
Define this.
How often are you re-rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in all of these categories?
Yeah. So now I'm doing it every 4 to 5 months. There's a lot that can happen in 4 to 5 months. So yeah, probably every 4 to 5 months, I'm like looking through it. I'll probably do it in the next couple of weeks. And then I'm going back to the retreat in December. So I know we're going to do that exercise. So I'll be prepared to do it at that point as well. But yeah, I'm really analyzing to see where I'm at. But I actually do more of, I guess the best way to put it is gratitude, but it's a deeper level of it. So it's not just like I'm grateful for these things. It's also acknowledging myself for doing certain things.
Mm.
So it's like, hey, I'm acknowledging myself for taking the time to get a coach to help me. People will acknowledge the outcome you get from the coach, but you first got to, again, Jason, we talk about, you got to acknowledge yourself for doing something. It's like, hey, I acknowledge myself for, right now I do like walks in the morning. I'm just acknowledging myself for just getting up and taking the walk.
100%.
I don't want to walk this morning, to be honest with you. I literally stared at the door. I was like, I do not want to walk. But I was like, no,
Yeah, I don't want to get up in the mornings and work out, but you do.
yeah, dude, I did not want to go to the gym today. I didn't want to walk over there. I was like, I just don't want to do it, but I did it. Right. And so the thing is that like, I'm acknowledging myself for doing that. So I think that's what it is as well. And anytime that I lean in, it's like, I acknowledge myself for leaning in with my close friend. It's like, these are things that we don't really acknowledge ourselves for, but these are big things that like most people are afraid or do not do. And so not only am I reflecting on the 1 to 10, I'm also reflecting on what are things that I'm doing that I would never have done before. But I did that. And it's like, I need to acknowledge myself for that so that I can remember that I can do that and I should not be afraid of it. I shouldn't run away from it, because a lot of things that we do, we always run away from it. But once we do it, we can realize it wasn't as painful as we thought it would be.
I think what you just touched on is so important. And actually, Jason and I talk about that a lot. I was just having this conversation with a friend before about how when we look at the goalpost is always moving and we forget to look backwards and say, have a moment of celebration, a moment of appreciation for what we did accomplish. Because if we just keep moving through that and the goalpost keeps moving, enough is never enough. And burnout is on the other side of that always.
It's how we end up feeling empty after we accomplish all of our goals. You don't take the time to be proud of what you've done. I think that's part of self-worth and self-love is, hey, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of who I am, proud of, who I'm becoming, and telling yourself that. And if you don't feel that way, then like getting truthful and honest with yourself and going through these exercises you're talking about.
Exactly.
So every 5 to 6 months, do you have a ritual in which you go through this? Like, do you go through it with the same group of people? Do you do this on your own? Do you like lock yourself in a room for 3 hours? Like, what does this look like for you?
It doesn't take that long for me to assess it, because I am doing reflections pretty often on like acknowledging myself. So I kind of can see like where I'm at. So when I go through it, it's probably about like an hour. I do it with myself, but again, when I go to the retreat, it'll be other people. But right now I do it myself. I'm okay with being very honest with myself.
Mm-hmm.
you're not, I just wouldn't recommend doing that in the beginning, because it's gonna, like, if you really get to the deep core and you allow yourself to have a moment of silence, like, it can be really hard to face a lot of things that are going through your life, just speaking from experience. So now, yeah, I just do it myself. I'll like turn on some, some music. I'll, light a candle and just vibe out and be like, all right, cool. Like, where am I at? I'll kind of look through it and be like, how can I improve that? And then we go from there. So that's the way that I assess it. I let it be very intuitive on like what those rankings are. Most of us know what we're at on a 1 to 10 with those categories. I think if you overthink it, you're either trying to give yourself a higher rating, which if you're not a high rating, then you're not, or you're in a bad state and you give yourself lower, but you haven't acknowledged yourself and realized it's way higher than that. So that's why I'm always doing that acknowledgement to know, okay, like I have a pretty clear understanding of where I'm at this stage.
One quick question within that, and something I'm thinking about, is going back to this point, it's really hard to be honest with yourself. Like if you're talking with someone one-on-one or you're in a group setting or whatever, like how do you encourage someone to honestly and truthfully like be real with themselves to the point where they can answer these things accurately and not lie to themselves? Like what pointers would you give someone to be honest with themselves?
Number one is asking yourself, are you comfortable in the lie that you're living, or do you want to set yourself free?
It's a good question.
That's just what you have to ask yourself. Because if you're comfortable in the lie, then you have to accept that you're comfortable in that lie, and you have to accept that that's the life that you're going to live. But if you want to be set free, okay, then now you can come to an acceptance that, hey, we want to set free, and now the work can begin. Without that question, you're not going to get that far. And then you also have to ask yourself, and this kind of follow to that is, if you're like, I'm okay with lying to myself, then you have to get deeper and be like, who's telling me that? Where is that coming from? Why do I have to lie to myself? Like, who told me a story back in the day to make me feel like I'm not worth it, or I'm not worthy of loving myself to the degree that I know that I can? I'm not a therapist, but I'm just telling you, those are the questions you got to ask yourself. Like, why do I feel comfortable lying to myself and not actually like trying to figure this out? Like, why am I cool with this?
Who told you you're not worth the effort? I mean, I think that's pretty powerful. Okay, so I have so many questions. I'm trying to decide which one to ask next. Okay, so I kind of started this ripples. We'll go back to that. Okay, so you do this work for yourself. This is an ongoing journey. It's never ending. How have you noticed, if at all, this having ripples on those around you? Like where I'm really getting at with this question is, as a leader, whether that be of a traditional definition in like your job, or it could be in your home, in your community, in your friend group, whatever. After doing this work, have you noticed this has had ripples in your communities, and has this made you a better leader?
100%. Everyone has different ways that they lead and go about it. One of the things that I've identified is how I impact people is I am a catalyst. So if you were to look up the definition of a catalyst, it means it's a chemical reaction that adds or multiplies to whatever it's interacting with, but they themselves are unaffected. So for me, I can have a conversation with someone, a dialogue. I'm like, hey, this is what needs to happen. Here's what you need to do, and move you into that direction. But I do not get affected by that. I'm still in the state that I'm in. I'm not moving into like, I got to prove you wrong. I'm not like getting affected by it. I don't turn negative. It's just like, I am the way that I am. So in that, I have identified that there are actions that I take or things that I do that inspire other people to do that thing. So I'll give an example. We'll go back to the body fat. So I got my screenshot of what it was. I shared it with my group. There's a wedding that I'm going to be in February. And I was like, hey, I'm locking in. I'm going to 10% now. Just letting y'all know, I hit this 14. We're going to 10, right? And so literally the guy calls me and he's like, I'm fired up right now. He's like, I've been slacking, but I saw this and like, I'm going to 10% with you. So those are the things, right, that I see and that I do in the catalyst. It's like, hey, I'll share something with somebody and they're like, whoa, yeah, I need to go do that, right? So I'm adding and multiplying to wherever people are at to then lead moving forward. But I'm also sharing from a transparent state, being like, hey, this is where I was at. Here's where I'm at now. Now it gets people to want to be like, okay, this is a person I can respect, I can follow, I want to admire, whatever it is, because I see the work that they put in, they accepted that work and they did it, I can do the same thing. And so that's what I'm starting to see across the board with the team, community, people I hang out with, all that stuff.
I love that. I think about like how taking this message on this podcast, even how you presented it at Arcadia, like how would you encourage a leader to take this and transform like how they lead, right? Because like what you're going through is going to be different than what someone else is going through. But like you talk about the movie, right? How can you, or how have you encouraged leaders to take these concepts, to take a more holistic approach to their leadership, to their career and everything?
I think the first step, I mentioned this at the talk, is that everyone needs to do the healing circle. That's like the first step. We can't unlock anything without doing that together. And I didn't know about this I didn't know about the healing circle as a manager, but I remember being a manager, I never asked people how they were going to hit their quota. Like that was not a question I asked people. I just asked them like, what are your personal goals right now? And I remember one of the reps, she's like, I'm trying to buy a couch. She just got out of college. She's like, I need a couch.
That's it.
And I was like, all right, so like, how are you going to get this couch? And she's like, I don't know. I don't have money for it. I was like, all right, cool. So it was like, we're going to map out a plan for you to book X amount of meetings in the next couple of weeks so that we can get your commission so you can go buy a couch. Right. And I'm using that as a funny example. Yet leaders can take that to the next level.
What's your couch? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the couch, right? Like, especially if you're a leader of leaders, it's probably bigger than a couch. There's probably some deeper stuff going on.
Yeah.
So if I had a sales team today or whatever it was, I'd be like, all right, everybody, this is going to sound very woo-woo. I don't really care, but we need to go through this healing circle because I need to understand you all as people. I can't lead unless I know where you're really at. So we're all going to go through the healing circle. As a leader, I would be very transparent. I wouldn't be like, I'm all nines. You guys suck. I'd be like, nope, this is where I'm at. Here's why I'm at. And then now everyone can have that dialogue. And then now you understand how to lead moving forward. I now know that Bobby is a 5 out of 10 with health. And he's like, hey, I'm trying to lose weight. And now I know I can keep him in mind. I can send him my workouts. I can be an inspiration for him, right? And so that's the way that I look at this. It's like leading people beyond what their craft is. It's actually elevating their soul. But you can't elevate someone's soul if you don't know what's going on in there. So that's why you have to look at, okay, let's take a step back. We got to look at the healing circle and we got to do this exercise together. And then now tactically, we could start working with people and inspiring them and moving them in that direction, right? And you can start celebrating people once they get higher points, right? Once they start removing and getting rid of distractions. And then over time, you just feel like you should just do that anyways. And now you've created this culture of people doing that. So I think to answer the question, Jason, like that's the first step is like you have to do the healing circle first to understand what you're even going to you're operating with.
Okay, so here's a question that comes to mind. Lots of people manage remote teams right now. Did you know the people that were in your men's group prior to going to this group, or were they strangers?
I only knew 2 people out of 8.
Okay. And so you're in person together. Was this like the first thing you all did, or did you do
No,
like
that would have been crazy.
What I'm getting at is like, yeah, like, all right, everybody sit down. But I feel like from a virtual team, a boss coming in and being like, all right, everybody, get out a piece of paper. Like, that's not going to fly.
I took the assumption that like you already know what your team is like you've already vibing. So yeah, let's set it if like you do not have that rapport. So yeah, we didn't do that until the second day at towards the end. So this was like one of the last things that we did.
Okay.
So we had known each other for a while through the process of the exercises that we were doing. So once we got towards this exercise, I and everyone else felt more comfortable. To your point, if we started with that, I probably would have been like, I'm not sharing this with you all. Like
Totally.
So
yeah.
I see exactly where you're coming from. I would be like, do something fun. We just went to my family and I were in Myrtle Beach and we went to Tiger Woods' putt-putt golf course. Have you been?
It looks sweet. I haven't seen it. I've only
It's
seen
sick.
pictures.
It's like real greens. It's intense. Like we had a good time. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, what if you did an offsite? You did something at Tiger Woods. You went to like a cool karaoke spot. And then the next day it's like, all right, we're going to talk about what the team needs to do, but then we're going to add in the healing circle. That way everyone's had a good time, everyone's been able to connect, and now we can bring that in. But to your point, no, I wouldn't have an offsite and say this is the first thing we're doing. It's too heavy. You got to get people to have some fun first, connect, et cetera, and then we're going to get into it.
Okay. I think this is kind of related. I'm just curious on this. I want two answers. I want 2023 Morgan's answer, and I want 2025 Morgan's answer.
Okay.
What is your feeling towards the statement, bring your whole self to work?
22-3 Morgan was like, I don't think anyone really I don't, it was two things actually. It's a two-part answer. I don't think anyone really needs to know about me, anything personally about me at all. And two, I don't think anybody cares. So I was like, I'm not gonna talk about it. Because no everyone asks me how I'm doing. Like nobody really cares how I'm doing. No one genuinely ever.
I'm good.
Yeah. So I was like, what's the point of that? People want to know how to make money and they want sales tips. So like, why would I tell you about something personal that's going on? Today, I think it's also the society right now. I think everyone's just exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, I'm exhausted. But it's interesting. I would say I'm not exhausted like physically. I'm exhausted like on a soul level. Like I have a soul exhaustion. And what I mean by that is like it's nothing to do with like sleeping or rest. It's just like there are just so much things that I have done myself to grow and a lot of things that I have realized and changed my thoughts on. And as you're working with your being and your soul, you just get exhausted as if you're working out, like, because there's a lot of things you're going through, right? And I think a lot of people, if they really were to ask themselves if they're exhausted on a physical, emotional, or soul level, I would probably say a lot of people are exhausted on the soul level because you're like, I'm doing work, I'm doing the most I can. It continuously gets harder. I'm trying to be as transparent as I can. I'm on LinkedIn trying to do my thing. The algorithm's changing. People like there's just so much that happens. And so I think over time, what I've realized is that people, of course, need to know how to do their job. I'll always share the tactics and like there's a business that I have and that has to sustain and grow. I've also realized that people just want stories from real people going through it and how they actually deal with these things in life so they can find someone relatable, because we now live in a world that things are becoming unrelatable. I use AI to hyper boost my business. I got $100 million fund in 2 days. Like it's overwhelming for people because it's like, okay, like, is this even really happening? Like what life do we live in? So I think for me, I show up in a way where it's like, I will share exactly what's going on with me to the extent that I believe that people need to know. And I will share where I do hesitate, or I will share like, hey, I just did this thing in Sedona. It was cool. I'm going to share those things because I also know that people are probably going through similar wavelengths and paths, and people just don't want to hear the same tactic over and over again, which is what I thought back in the day.
Very much feel the same way. And I've noticed a big shift in your content. I mean, as the LinkedIn guy, right? Your content's always been about the sales and the tactics. Now it's more about like, you know, the man behind the tactics and kind of the heart, the soul, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
how's the response been to that from your audience and kind of the perception of what you're sharing now versus all just tactics?
Yeah. At first I was like very uncomfortable with it. I was just like, I don't know why I do not like this. I felt called and compelled to do so. I will say is that like what people on LinkedIn obviously only sometimes look at the reactions and the comments, etc. I look way beyond that. It's like, what are people like texting me? Are people like calling me? Are people like DMing me? So I've actually seen the reception is very high. People will text me and be like, whoa, like that's deep. Like, tell me about that. Or like someone will call me and be like, yo, you did what? Like, and so no, like that's crazy. So, like people DM me and be like, yo, I just feel inspired to do that. Or people have also called me or text me saying, I feel inspired to share what you're sharing. I didn't know we could do that.
I didn't know that was allowed.
No, I know. Some people are like, I didn't know this was allowed. So it's like, I mean, yeah, like do whatever you want. Like, so that I think that to me is showing this is what people are looking for. This obviously is impacting people. People feel the same. And I will continuously share those things. I'm not going to do it every single day, but I will do when I feel compelled to say what's right, when I know what it needs to be said, and not just let things go by the wayside. So yeah, I've seen the reception be very high for people DMing me and slacking me, texting me, whatever, being like, this was a really good post. This is what I needed.
Yeah, we get that a lot too. Is like I feel like Sam and I's content has changed a lot around like the same principles, especially as we've dug more into the concept and principles of Arcadia. Yeah, and it's like it's just one of those things. Like I get tired of posting about tactics and how to do partnerships, how to build that. Here's a playbook, right? And the more we share like the real stuff, I think the more sincere feedback we get, right? And I think people are looking for this information. Everyone's going through the same stuff. Everyone's going through the same crap, and they're not quite sure how to get out of that carousel, if I may. They just keep riding it.
Exactly.
And someone speaks up, shows a new path, shows a new way, shows a new thought, and it's like it's refreshing, and it's almost healing to an extent to where they're at and what they're dealing with.
Yeah, 100%.
So, Morgan, I saw a post the other day where somebody sold their business for $10 billion.
Oh God.
You mentioned this, how I want to just highlight this because I feel like this conversation can look at like, okay, yeah, we like look at where we're sitting in our life and we are improving and everything is sunshine and rainbows. And that's not true. You mentioned this specific example at Arcadia where like you can get stuck in the trap of everybody's highlight reel, and you come back to one statement to help yourself through that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, y'all, I think everyone's gonna resonate with this. Y'all, I get really frustrated. I get really frustrated by social media because I think that I'm like killing it, and then someone's like, "Oh, well, I solved the world's algorithmic problem, and they just gave me $1 billion in 5 days," and I'm like, "What? Like, what's going on?" Or someone's like, "Yo, here's my $50 million funnel I built in 17 days," and I'm like. And also, like a lot of people, like I posted this the other day, and people like they'd be like, these people are lying, but it's like, yes, I know that, but it still gets you. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why am I not seeing that? And
Comment success to solve all the world's problems.
yeah, it really rubs me the wrong way. And there are people that I admire, and when they do certain things, I'm really happy for them, and that's awesome. But then you're always looking at like, okay, so I'm doing my due diligence. What's going on here? Like, where's the disconnect? Right. And then you're like, should I change? What do I do? Et cetera. So all these things unravel. So the statement that I tell myself is I'm exactly where I need to be. Because essentially, we don't know what's going on. So even if that's true and someone got $1 billion in 5 days, let's go back to the healing circle. Okay, they got a 10 out of 10 on money, but like, could they be 2 out of 10 on health? Could they be 1 out of 10 on relationships? Like, we don't really know what's going on. So just because you see someone, oh, they're killing it, but are they really? And would it be a person you want to model? One of the things that I say as well is I'm exactly where I need to be, is the way that I quiet that noise is realizing where are the receipts? So what do I mean by that? If someone's like, hey, I got, $1 billion in 5 days and we don't see a receipt of that, then you should be like, well, is that even real or not? So then you can kind of dismiss it. Also, as well, even if that person had as amount of money as they did, if you met them in person, and let's say they were a disingenuous person and they were not a person of integrity, wouldn't even matter. My coach and I had the conversation. It was actually, I want to give this to y'all. Maybe some of you that might feel this way. And I asked my coach this, and it was the most profound answer ever. I asked him, and I was like, hey, like, let's just say I really wanted to like push and make like 750 million, $1 billion. People tell me that I have to compromise my character. I have to do shady tactics to get there. So like, is there a way that I could avoid that? And he's like, what if I told you that you had to compromise that? Would you do it? And I said, no. So he's like, this conversation is we don't even have this conversation. It doesn't even matter because you're never going to do that. So this conversation is completely throw it out. So why am I bringing up that point? It's because the things that you may feel envious about or that you may be upset about, the person that's telling you that thing, you might not even want to be that person. So again, the whole thing doesn't even matter. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I deleted a lot of the apps that I have on my phone, because I wanted just to clear my headspace even more to focus on the things that matter that are in front of me. But yeah, I always tell myself I'm exactly where I need to be. And that continuously helps me every single time in what I do.
Makes me think, you were just mentioning earlier, you may not want to be the people that you see. It's like, I have to imagine or assume that 2016 to 2021, Morgan J, everyone on the surface, everyone thought you were killing it on these goals. You were doing great, but I assume no one knew on the inside that you felt empty.
No. Probably not. I didn't say anything about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, you can't always, judge someone by like what you see. That's the danger and damage of social media, right?
Yeah.
But I think when people are brave enough to be vulnerable and open and kind of share like what you're going through and what you're working on, what you're dealing with, like that begins to change the scope a little bit of what we're seeing and how we're perceiving people. Right. I think that's why, people latch onto that type of content on social media is because like, oh, someone's finally being honest and real. And like, things aren't always, just rainbows and sunshine. It's not always great. Sometimes we're going through some real crap, and this is how we deal with it and go through it as leaders. I think more leaders need to hear that, hey, it's okay. Like we talked a lot at Arcadia when you were there, is like having a place to safely and bravely invest in yourself, because I just don't feel like leaders have that spot to like share how we're struggling, what we're dealing with, and how to overcome it. So like I'm grateful to see you're out there sharing this content.
For sure. Yeah, I think the reason why I love the healing circle so much is because it puts a line in the sand and it gives you something to say like this is a picture of my life. And Jason and I are as connected as two humans could be. We live in the same house, we have the same business, we have the same kids, and his answers are probably going to be different than mine. And so I think it's a really healthy exercise to then have a roadmap for you. And it doesn't matter if the guy has $10 billion dollars, because guess what? I'm not chasing $10 billion dollars. That's not on my roadmap. And so to always have something to come back to and just be like, good for them, but here's my lane of focus is, I think, so important, because we can get pulled into so many different directions on what's important from a societal level that we lose perspective on a human level.
I think we spend so much time, too much time. I'm guilty of this, always have been, but we spend too much time like being envious of what other people have, right? Or we want to be like somebody else. We see what someone's doing. We want to be like that person. And one of the things that I've found to better like flip that mindset for me is really trying to get better at celebrating what those people have accomplished and what they've done, and celebrating with them and celebrating out loud instead of like finding myself envious. And I feel like the more that I do that, like the more that envy or desire to be like others just kind of fades and goes away into the distance. It's like I find myself more authentically celebrating, cheering people on, and hearing more about how they, did this or did that thing, than finding myself like, oh man, why can't that happen to me? So there's ways to change that mindset.
Yeah, I think it's celebrating it because now your brain can shift and say, that's really good. And you don't come from a spot of maybe negativity or a spiral. I think also it can be like, wow, let's celebrate that because it's possible. And I also can do it too. And not in a way that can be like, now I got to do this and do it better than them. It's like, no, okay, that's cool that they did that. It's possible for me to do the same thing. So there's hope and courage in that. And I think that's kind of the reframe you have to have there.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to bring this to a close here. We've got some hard stops because we're all, running these businesses and things, and we're adults and have responsibilities, which sucks. But we're talking about like rating things, relationships, health, family, finance, spirituality, and all that stuff. I'm going to put you on the board here and ask you to rate something that's not on your healing circle. You ready for this?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay. It's very serious. Very serious. Stop laughing. In pickleball, the highest rating that you can achieve is what, 5.5, 5.0, 5.5?
Yeah, it's like a 5.5. Yeah.
I need to know like where honest, vulnerable Morgan J Ingram ranks himself in the beginner, intermediate, advanced, or expert level. Is it a 1 to 2, 2 to 3? Like where are we at here? Where's the game at? We gotta get an update that we can talk about it next time you come back.
I laughed because I knew this was going to be your question. I already sensed it. I was like, yeah, I know he's going to ask me something about pickleball. So the thing is that I haven't gone and got the Duper rating yet. So I actually don't know what my rating is at all. At some point, I'll go do that. If I had to put myself where I'm at today, I'd probably be at that like entry stage intermediate.
Okay.
Like I have now entered the threshold where it's like I can hang with entry stage intermediate. If you've been playing for a long, like I'd say, like you've been playing for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or you play tennis, the paddleball, you're still probably gonna get me, to be honest with me. And obviously, pros are gonna get me. But I feel like I'm at the beginner level, right there, intermediate. I feel like I passed that threshold literally, like probably like last month, like in the past couple weeks. I noticed the shift and like, okay, I'm starting to react differently. I'm understanding the game. I'm making intuitive plays. I don't have to think about it as much. So I was like, okay, I'm now in the level of beginner, intermediate, where I could definitely hang. And I made some adjustments to my serve as well. So I actually feel pretty good about it now. But I also tell myself that like, this is me learning a lot. I've never played a paddle sport. I've never done this before. So I'm just excited every day to be like, cool. Growing
Small
hard.
celebrations.
Love the journey. I've been playing every Wednesday morning, so I'm ready for you next time we're together.
I'm locked in now.
I'll bring the partner stack pickleball paddles for us.
When we played, I had just picked it up.
And you were barefoot, so
Yeah,
the odds
exactly.
were all against you.
Odds against you. All right, Morgan, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being
Absolutely.
vulnerable enough to share your message. Thank you
Yeah.
for being the person you are in the world. So people still follow you on LinkedIn. Is that where we go to get the good?
Yeah, I'm the good. Follow me on LinkedIn. My newsletter is the commish. I actually go way deeper into things there. I talk about my journey in there as well. And then we're going to start putting out some more YouTube videos so I can be a lot more long form of the things I want to talk about. So
Awesome. We will link them below, but thank you for being a friend. We're rooting for you, and we will talk soon. Friends, thanks for being here. It's so fun to be back. We will see you next time.
See y'all.